Well, there is a new TikTok trend coming out every day, it seems like, but some are promising big results when it comes to that weight loss. And Danny sat down with Dr. Kohli to debunk these trends and see if any are worth the hype.
Well, Dr. Kohli, we have you on the show often because we have a lot of questions from our guests and those who are watching at home. But this one is a little bit more from me. So these are trends that we are now seeing on TikTok, social media, and I'm actually doing 2 of the 3. At the end. We can talk about which ones I'm doing. But I'm curious to know what your thoughts are. So first, I want to start with this new trend. This is called the 12-3-30. This is where people are walking for 30 minutes on a treadmill. They're doing it at a 12% incline, and they're doing it at 3 miles per hour. And this is getting a lot of hype just for being something that's good for weight loss. So I'm curious to know, what do you think of this 12-3-30 trend?
Yeah, I've seen the trend as well. I've had a few patients ask me about it. It's really fascinating. So when you're walking up a steep incline, 12-degree incline, what you're doing is essentially getting your heart rate up more.
Yeah.
So, you know, when you add that incline, as opposed to walking on flat ground, it really does accelerate the cardiovascular system.
Yeah.
So you're basically getting to a faster heart rate. In fact, how we do stress testing for the heart is we make people walk up inclines.
Oh, there you go.
Because we know that that gets your heart rate up.
Sure.
And so it's a nice way to get to a moderate or high intensity exercise relatively quickly in the comfort of your own home without necessarily doing many of those classes or many of the other things that people find to be barriers. So I like it for the fact that it's good cardiovascular activity.
Sure.
Now, whether or not it works for weight loss really depends on what else you're doing in your life.
Right.
Because this is how much calories you're expending. So you're going to expend more calories walking uphill than you would walking on a flat ground.
Yes.
But on the other hand, if you're taking in many more calories because you're more hungry or whatever after your exercise, then it may not work for weight loss.
Sure.
I'll also caution there's some drawbacks to doing this. So when you're walking up an incline like that, it can really put a lot of stress on your lower back.
Ooh, yes.
You really want to be careful, especially if you're older and could potentially be at risk for low back problems.
Sure.
It also is a very repetitive activity, especially walking like that. So it can be tough on your knees, your ankles, and your joints.
Okay.
And so the risk of injuries for having the same activity can be a little bit higher as opposed to walking outside, which is a varied terrain up and down.
Right.
So you're not doing the exact same motion over and over again.
Okay, that is fair. I like that a lot. So I am doing that one every day. That is something that I've been, but you know what? I'm finding that I didn't think I would sweat that much going uphill, you guys. It really does.
Yeah.
Now, here's another one that's been kind of popular on social media. This is the apple cider vinegar shot. And I've seen this in a couple of variations. Some people will just take the shot as it is, but I've also seen people mixing in lemon and cayenne pepper as well and taking this kind of first thing in the morning. What does this do for us, or does this do anything for us?
Apple cider vinegar has really been reported in the literature since 400 BC.
Wow.
Since the time of Hippocrates, for many of the health effects that it has.
Okay.
Anecdotally, there is some evidence that this can help with weight loss, this can help with satiety, this can help with antioxidants, but it's all anecdotal evidence. And we do have some animal evidence that tells us if you give this to overweight rats, they actually can, you know, end up losing more weight and having more lean mass. In humans, we don't know as much. We do know that people who have insulin resistance can become more sensitive after they take apple cider vinegar. So personally, I think, Danny, I don't know if you're doing this one, but I think it's okay to try it because I don't see a lot of health risks to taking an apple cider vinegar shot. Now, that cayenne pepper can trigger a little heartburn or reflux, especially if you're taking it on an empty stomach first thing in the morning. So just be mindful of that. But really, it may have some benefits. We don't know. The science is really iffy on it right now, but I don't see a lot of risks.
Interesting. Well, I am doing that one as well, guys, so I'll let you know. But it's only been a couple of weeks, and so far, I mean, what I've noticed, at least for me so far, is it tends to curb the appetite. I'm not entirely sure if that's from the apple cider vinegar, or that's just a mental thing.
Psychological,
but you know, it has, it doesn't taste great though, you guys, I gotta say. But you know, a little water after, make it all right. Now, last one I want to debunk, this one I'm actually not doing, but I have heard of friends who are, is this cottage cheese yellow mustard trend. This is a newer one too. So people are either mixing the two as part of a high protein, high fiber diet, or they're just putting it on everything, or mustard that is, or just eating cottage cheeses as it is.
Interesting.
thoughts on this? What do
Yeah,
you
so
think?
cottage cheese is a great nutrient-packed food. It doesn't have fiber, but it is very high in protein. So 70% of the calories in cottage cheese come from protein.
Okay.
I like the fact that it's essentially sort of tasteless. So you can mix it with other things to really add nutritional value. You can get vitamins like calcium, and selenium, and zinc. And so I like cottage cheese as a food.
Okay.
And also because it's so protein dense, it fills you up.
Sure.
And so you're less likely to eat more calories from other things such as carbohydrates and processed foods and other things that may not be as healthy.
Okay.
The mustard part I'm not sure about.
It's interesting,
and
right?
mustard is the healthiest of the condiments.
Sure.
Because it's sort of most naturally derived.
Okay.
But it may just be potentially for flavor rather than necessarily for the health benefits because there's not a lot of health benefits to eating a ton of mustard.
That's fair. Okay. Well, I love that we're debunking all of these trends. It sounds like there are a few here that might actually be good. I'm always a little nervous about these TikTok trends, but these ones seem okay.
Well, you report back to us on how you're doing.
I absolutely will. Dr. Kohli, thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Oh, that TikTok. Well, make sure you email us your questions for Dr. Kohli. Just send your message to mycoco@9news.com and put Kohli in the subject line.